All right, we're going to do some review. First, we're going to review some binary. So I have 2 questions here, actually 6, and I want you to try to answer them. I'm not going to say anything for a little bit. I want you to hit the pause button. I want to see if you can do these, and then I'll give you the answers in just a bit, okay? So go ahead and hit pause. All right, let's take a look at the answers. First off, I want you to note that I kind of made you do some things here backwards from what I had to do in the class. I didn't really show you how to create the binary from the decimals. All we did was from binary to decimals. So this is going to be a little tough. So let me show you the answers here first. So if you were to take 3, the way to represent that binary is here. How did I do that? Well, what I did was I said, okay, I know that this is the 1's place, 2's place, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. And so what I did was I said, well, which is the largest one of these that is no bigger than this? In other words, I can't put the 1's digit on for the 4's place because 4 is bigger than 3. But I can put the 2 bit on. So I put 2 in, and I subtract it from 3, then what I have left is 1. So then I would add the 1 to the 2 to give me 3. Oh, hard. How would I do it for 18? Well, I would go to the 16th bit location, and I would turn that on. When I remove 16 from 18, all I have left is 2. So then I'm going to turn the 2's bit on, and then I get this. 127, oh my gosh, that's really long. I would turn on the 64, the 32, the 16, the 8, the 4, the 2, and the 1. If I went 127 and I subtracted 64, then what I'd have remaining would take up all these bits. I'm not going to do the math. But if I add them all up, I'm going to get 127. It's a little bit tougher. With some practice, you can try it out. These binary numbers equal to these decimals. This is 1 plus 4 plus 8 gives you 13. 1 plus 2 plus 8 gives you 11. And then 1 plus 4 plus 16 gives you 21. So that's how we get those numbers. Do you remember how to write the program Hello World completely from memory? Can you do it? I want you to type it in or write it up in your notebook and see what you can do. Okay? Pause it up, see if you can write it out from memory. All right, we are back. So now that you've written it up, you need to see if you did it right. So if we were in class, you'd look at your neighbor, see if you got it right. But you know what? You're not in class. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your next door neighbor. No, wait, that won't work. All right, you got to look it up. Next question. We're going to learn about hardware versus software. We've done this in class a couple times already. What's the difference between hardware and software? Well, really, it's those parts of the system that you can hit with a hammer, which is not a vise, are called hardware. And those that you can only curse at are called software. I love that quote. So we got 3 questions here. I want you to try to answer these questions. Pause the video until you're done. And then after you've done your best to answer those, I'll review them. Pause. While you're waiting on the pause, I'll tell you a little joke. What's the difference between a cat and a comma? A comma is a pause at the end of a clause, where a cat has claws at the end of its paws. Oh, just too much there. All right, let's see if we can do these. What are 4 escape sequences? Well, escape sequences first is when you do the whack. This little character is called a whack. This is a whack n, it's a new line. It's what allows us to print onto the new line. This is whack t, that's tab. This is whack whack that allows us to output, well, this backslash. Backslash is too long to say, so we just say whack. And then whack quote, well, that'll allow us to print a quote. Okay, so all 4 of these are called escape sequences, and that's what you can use. What's a naming convention? Oh my goodness, we didn't cover this at all. Well, naming convention is not a rule, it's a convention on how you name something. It's not a rule. You don't have to do it, except if you break the conventions and I'm grading your stuff, since you didn't go according to conventions, your grade will be lower. because I enforce the conventions with grades, but the compiler does not enforce the convention because it's not a rule. So, a naming convention for classes and methods. Well, we have to know what classes and methods are. Well, first off, class starts at the top because it says class right in front of it. A lot of the things we're going to see is class main, because if we're in REPL or REPLit, that's what it always requires the class name to be, at least to start one. But when we do other projects, you'll have lots of other classes. So for classes, the name always starts with an uppercase. So my class name, capital M. And then what we do is we do all lowercase except when we start a new word. Okay? So this would be called Pascal case. It's what they call it. Capital M, capital C, capital N, all lowercase, everything else. This is a convention for how we name our classes. How do we name our methods? Well, our methods start with a lowercase letter and then go to the next word is a capital letter. We call this camel case because it's like a camel, and this is a two-hump camel. Okay, so these are conventions for how we're going to name our methods and name our classes in our code. And then you're going to write a single statement that prints out the following. Yo, 148, 3 to the 3 to the 6 to the 9, representing the ABQ, what up? Does anyone know where that's from? What? I can't hear you. Oh, yeah, video. It's from Breaking Bad. So when you're old enough and you're allowed to watch a mature rated TV show, you'd see that quote in there. All right, so how do we do that? Well, we have to use our escape sequences. To get this quote, we have to use a slash, a whack, a backwards whack quote to get that quote there. But everything that we print out is within quotes. So we have our first quote, everything we're going to print. We're going to print a quote. We just keep going. And then right here at the end of the 9, we want a new line. So I did whack N. And then representing the ABQ, what up? And then I needed that last quote, so I did another quote. So this is how I was able to do that in a single print line statement. Okay, single statement print line. And I believe that is all we have. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of review. Cover things pretty quickly, but you did get to pause.